Hey YouTube, welcome back in. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Thanks for checking out another episode. In today's episode, there are a few things that I want to talk about. Most importantly, I want to break down all the changes with the MP5. Second thing, we've had a little bit of news on Formal and what's going on with his situation. And third, I want to go through the clutch that Envoy had at the very first map, the end of the first map against OGLA. If not for that clutch, which may or may not have gone unnoticed, but if he didn't do what he did, then Chicago absolutely ends up losing map 1 and it doesn't even make it to that round 11 in game 5. So big show for you here today. Let's go ahead, let's get started without further ado. So first thing, and I can't believe this is happening, but there has been a change to the MP5. It absolutely blows my mind that they would even touch the M4 or the MP5 right now when there's $4.6 million on the line here in just a few days. If you want to change things, just wait 4 days, okay? Whatever you want to do, if you want to take the M4 and just nerf it into the ground in 4 days, I don't care. Same with the MP5. If you want to remove it from the game, I don't even care, but just wait 4 days. Don't mess with it. So this comes from JGod YouTube. He says, looking specific to the collapsible stock attachment, which is why it didn't look different in the previous stuff I posted earlier. Rough trace of how it looked in old gameplay compared to new. Damascus is the old gameplay and Red Tiger is the new. So what he does is he gives us this picture and he draws this yellow outline of the MP5, and this is how it used to look just a couple days ago. Now, if we go forward, he takes that same outline and he applies it to what it looks like new, and you can just see kind of the left side of the gun over here. It's a little bit wider. Up close and personal, it's not quite as wide. So I don't know. There have been some reports that it recoils a little more and the pattern's a little bit off. So if I'm just looking at it here, the other thing is it seems a little bit more zoomed in. So like if you're looking at it from this point of view, see how it seems like it's a little bit further out. Whereas if you're looking at it from this point of view, it looks like it's a little bit more in your face. So I don't know, the overall shape of it doesn't really bother all that much. It doesn't seem like it takes up much more of the screen, but if they affected the recoil pattern, then obviously that's a massive deal. And if it's zoomed in a little bit more, then that's obviously also a big deal too. So just wanted to make sure that we were covering that because it could have big implications with so many people running the MP5 going into Champs weekend. Of course, we had some reaction on Twitter. This is from Scraps. He said $3 million on the line this upcoming weekend. The MP5 has been messed with, which is the most important gun. You could argue between that and the M4, but that's neither here nor there. They're 1000% taking the out of us. And then there is also this from Ashton is Vulcan. This is the community leader for IW. And this was from about 2 weeks ago when they were going through, they were messing with some guns and they were talking about weapon tuning. Caleb Sayer says in response, we're getting weapon tuning a few days before Champs. And then Ashton replies, this tunes weapons that they don't use. So from that reply, everybody's like, okay, MP5, M4, it's not going to be messed with. We don't have anything to worry about it. But lo and behold, here we are. Next tweet from Scump, he says, so the MP5 isn't getting reverted for playoffs. Seems like they might have a little bit of inside information there saying just that it's not being changed back. Then also Simp, for what it's worth, he said, I kind of like the new MP5. So who knows? I'm sure pro players will be able to adjust a little bit to whatever the change is with the MP5. It's just unfortunate that we have to talk about and go through stuff like this when we're so close to playoffs weekend. The other thing that I wanted to go through and cover before we get into the clutch from Envoy is if we look at CDL on Twitter, this comes from the podcast from the NRG duo, which is obviously Hex and the co-CEO, Hex, co-CEO Andy Miller of NRG. And they're talking just a little bit about Formal. So when it comes to this, it says Formal doesn't want to travel due to COVID-19 and doesn't want to fly private. He'll be playing championship weekend from the West Coast. So from what I've gathered, Hex has offered to go and pick him up, literally drive to California, pick him up, bring him back. They've offered to pay for a a private jet for Formal to fly back into Texas, and he just doesn't want to do that. So this could have some implications. We saw from last weekend how much it affected Kenny and Slasher, so them going to the Complexity headquarters and playing out of Texas. They were obviously frying. They were one round away from getting into championship weekend after playing in one of those first 4 seeds. And Slasher talked over and over again how much it obviously played into the lack of their success throughout the entire year when it did go to online. So I don't know if maybe Formal could play a little bit better if he was also in Texas with everybody else, but that's not something that he wants to do or is willing to do. So who knows what implications it'll have, but I just wanted to make sure that we threw it out there. Last thing that I wanted to cover here was that clutch from Envoy and the rest of Chicago Huntsmen. So you can see the scoreboard in the top middle. It's basically a tie ball game, and it's about to rotate from P4 to P5. I picked this because I wanted to show the events that led up to the clutch play. So obviously the score is just about tied. If we look at the minimap, you can see that all of those white arrows are inside the P5 hardpoint, and almost instantly Pristini gets a kill, Envoy gets a kill, Scump gets 2, Pristini gets another, Arcides gets 1. So if you were watching the kill feed on the left-hand side, basically everybody immediately goes down for OGLA, and now as they're trying to rotate in, this is where Chicago really ends up gaining their lead, which sets them up for the second half of this clip here. So as we're on with Kenny right here, they're trying to work themselves back in. They do a decent job of getting some contest time right here, but again, if we look at the minimap, you can see that there are 3 green arrows on the bottom side of the map. That is Formal, that's Scump, that is Arcides. They're already on rotation. So there's a big battle going on back towards the back of P2. Whoever ends up winning that battle is going to be the team that gets that rotation. And right there, you can see in the kill feed, Formal kills Draza, Formal kills TJ. That is a massive 2-piece. If Formal doesn't get both of those kills, then as it rotates back to P2, Chicago doesn't have that initial time. So this has been a really good couple minutes here for Chicago because they were able to break inside of P4. They were able to win rotations to P2, and they also got like the first 10 seconds inside of P1. So just this is the biggest things with teams when it comes to Chicago and Atlanta and Dallas is that they're just full of veteran players that have been in these scenarios before. So when it comes time to go massive and get huge kills, they are usually the players that end up getting it done. So right there, TJ was kind of lurking around Water Tower. Envoy's able to get that kill. And as we go back to P5, it is basically a tie ball game. This is a really nice play from Draza. He comes in from behind, is able to get that kill on Arcides. So they set up a little bit of a pinch, right? Obviously, as OGLA comes from P1, they want to hit mid. They want to hit the back door. So it was a nice job out of OGLA of initially getting inside, getting a team wipe. You can see Kenny with 2, Hollow with 1, TJ with 1. So just kind of the opposite of what we saw inside of P5 when it popped. Inside of P2, OGLA got in. They were getting a ton of kills, but I'm just constantly watching the scoreboard in the top. Right now, it's 240 to 235. There's one more push here available for OGLA. If they don't get a team wipe right here, they're going to end up losing. So right there it comes in, and I want to pause this right here because TJ gets a kill. Draza gets a kill. You can see everything that's happening. Look at the scoreboard in the top middle. It's currently 236 to 246. OGLA has all the time inside the hard point, right? They have all the presence inside the hard point, and there are 14 seconds left. So if you're Chicago, you have to get in and you have to contest. If you don't contest for a second, you're going to lose. So even though they're getting the top spawns, right? If we're looking at this overview and I draw on the map, Chicago is getting this spawn up here. So as it rotates back to P3, if it goes to a P3 hardpoint, then Chicago's going to be able to rotate through beat-on. They're going to be able to get the last 4 seconds, and that's how they're going to win. But before they can do that, they have no choice. They have to come through this side door, right? They can't flank around back. There's not enough time. They can't really go through mid. There's just not too much time. They basically have one push from here on out, and if they don't make it happen, they're going to end up losing. So as we press play, Slasher gets a kill on Arcides running towards that side door, but right here, you can see all of the smoke in front of Slasher's face. That's Envoy, right? That's the player that he is. He throws those important smokes into cuts and inside of hills and stuff like that. So Envoy's able to get the smoke out, and as he's sliding in, he kills Draza. Here in a second, Slasher is obviously shooting, right? If you look, you can see right here the muzzle flash from his weapon that he's shooting, and there's even rounds popping out right here, but because of the smoke, they can't exactly see where he's at. So just right there, Envoy's able to get a knife on Slasher, and you can see that it's contested. Just that 1 second of contesting puts it to 240 to 209. As we press play, Kenny ends up getting the kill on Envoy, but you can see if you look at the minimap, all of these green arrows here for Chicago have already rotated over. So if you're OGLA, you're going to see that as we press play, they're not even worried about the time inside this hardpoint because it literally doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is them getting inside of P3 or contesting or getting the kills inside of P3. So had they stayed inside of P2, they could have gotten those last 7 seconds. It would have been 246 to 248 as P3 popped, but there's just no point in doing that because you need every single person rotating over to P3. This is another situation where there's only one route that they can go through, right? They have to come through B-Dom at the top side of the map. So as this is about to pop in 1 second, you can see that Envoy gets a kill on rotation in the middle of the map, and this is a really awesome play right here by Pristini. He knows that he doesn't have to challenge. They absolutely just have to sprint in front of his face. So he lays down. He's able to get that kill on Draza, and Chicago's able to get the victory. But the only reason why that was able to go down that way is because Envoy, through that smoke, he was able to slide in and kill Draza. He knifed Slasher. He contested for 2 seconds. And because of that contest, it rotated to P3. That's how Chicago ended up winning. So had he not made that play, it doesn't even get to a map 5. We're not talking about the round 11 or any of that. So wanted to make sure that I put this out there for you guys. If you're new around here, this is what I do. I break down gameplay and try to make it as understandable as possible. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Any comments, put them down below. Thank you guys so much. We will see you in tomorrow's upload.